We are looking through the looking glass for a show that's all about reflections. On Reflection, it's Jo Lycett. Reflecting on what she's done, Lisa Tarbuck. Reflecting the mood of the nation, it's Zoe Lyons. And next year's Wreath Lecturer, Reflecturer. OK, Alan Davis! Their buzzers are reflecting off a rock face. Jo goes...
Jo.
Lisa goes...
Lisa.
Zoe goes...
Zoe.
And Alan goes...
Alan, what?
As you can see, we have made this episode a mirror image of what you usually see, which is to say that, Alan, we have put you on the opposite side to usual. I know. How many years in the other chair?
18.
Does it feel weird?
It does feel weird,
Yeah.
You look a little bit different from this side.
Is that a good thing?
Yeah.
OK.
Oh, yeah, no, it's not like, oh, my God.
Yeah. Right, here is a question. Why do mirrors flip you side to side and not upside down?
That's very good, yes.
Yes, why is it?
Two eyes. It must be because your eyes are level.
OK, let us imagine that we're looking at writing on a T-shirt, OK?
Yeah.
And you can read it perfectly well, and then you look in a mirror, the writing on the T-shirt appears to be flipped...
That way.
Back to,
yeah.
like that, so you can see it is flipped back to front. Yeah, why is that? Why does the mirror do that, and why does it not flip us upside down as well? Why does it only flip as apparently left to right?
Is it not what Alan said about your eyes being left and right?
I like your eyes are on the side of your head when you do that.
Yeah.
Like a fish.
Is your eye seeing actually what it is? Does your brain... Does your brain flip it?
Have you had a stroke?
Yeah.
When it comes in your eye, it's already flipped.
Right.
And your brain flips it around.
What he said.
Right.
That's what
I think everybody is making it much too complicated. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to try this, and Jo is going to be my assistant. Jo, I want you to take a piece of card that we have got here.
Yes.
Write a large, clear word in capital letters on
Oh, my God, are you going to try and
please.
guess it?
No, I don't want to guess it. It's not a magical trick.
What's the point, then? I want a magic trick.
OK, Lisa, could you... Write the word. Write
Any word.
Any word, darling. What about the word boss, for example, which is, you know, lots of people have a boss, right? Yes. There we are.
Nicely done, madam.
OK.
Slippy.
Looks like we're off to court.
Right, and can you write the same word on this piece of glass? OK, so I am going to go over here and stand in front of the camera and the glass, and you can see, hopefully... Are the audience able to see this? Can you see it on the monitors, everybody? So you can see that it says boss. Now, when I have it, as it were, on my T-shirt and I look in the mirror, it is... It's flipped round, OK?
Yeah.
So the question is, why does it do that? Well, the mirror hasn't done anything. It was me who flipped it round. There is absolutely nothing happening in the mirror. If you look at the card, I am flipping it around. The mirror has not done anything, and in fact, if you bring the glass, darling, bring the piece of glass over here. Have you written the same word on the piece of glass?
Yeah.
OK, so come here, my darling. Let's put the card behind it. Let us imagine there it is. Can you see that perfectly well? There it says boss. But if I don't flip it around now, because it's written on glass, when we look in the mirror, it is perfectly fine. The mirror has not done anything. It is me who did the flipping around. Thank you, my darling. The most brilliant magician's assistant there. Fantastic. try and imagine if you were a fish and you had your eyes on either side of your head and the fish... Have we got a picture of a fish swimming? There we go. So a fish swimming alongside a mirror would see the eye exactly where it's supposed to be and the tail exactly where it's supposed to be. It would know that the mirror has done nothing. The flipping is done by us and not by the mirror.
I don't think I've ever questioned that.
No, and then actually once you do start thinking about it, it does slightly do your head in.
So hang on, is Alan over there because I've done it in my head?
Yes.
Everyone's done me in their head, Chuck.
Do you know what? I haven't, but I am now. And...
Is there a mirror?
There is another thing that curious about mirrors. If you've got, you should each have a mirror there. If you and you could try this when you have a mirror at home. Hold it quite close to your face, OK? Look at one or other of your eyes in the reflection. Just choose one. If you then transfer your gaze to the other eye, you will not see your eyes move, although somebody watching would see the movement quite clearly.
Oh, that's so weird.
That is quite strange, isn't it?
It bulged forward as well.
What, your eye?
No, the whole part of that part of my face.
I think that's a medical condition that... so, I mean, try it. It's a curious thing.
Scream!
Do you know what? I've suddenly realised this is my 5th year hosting and I expect all trouble to come from my right, and today it's from my left. It's a very strange thing. Here's a question for you. If I made a box with a mirrored...
Be much taller.
If I made a box with a mirrored interior and we shone a light into it and we closed it, does the light keep bouncing around forever?
Are you in the box?
Yeah, I'm in the box with a small torch. Let's work it that way.
Yeah.
We just bang on the box and go, Sandy.
If I turn
Sandy, can you see a light?
If I turn the torch on and then I turn it off again, will it bounce around forever?
No.
Why not?
Well, I don't know. I'd love you to tell me.
No.
Well, if you imagined this was a giant box and you had 2 mirrors over there and you shone a torch, it wouldn't. If you then turn the torch off,
It's not gonna bounce
it wouldn't bounce back and forth.
But why not?
Because
It's because no mirror reflects 100% of the light striking it. So some of it is absorbed and eventually, I mean, actually unbelievably quickly, because it's millions of times per second, it would be absorbed by the mirror and it would leave the interior completely dark. It's a miracle that we can work out what's going on in a reflection at all. What can this fish do that a baby can't?
Stay underwater?
Yeah, swim underwater is absolutely true, yes. There used to be a myth that babies could do that, but that is not believed.
No, I learnt that out the hard way.
Yeah.
3 nieces was too many anyway.
Yeah. No, fair enough.
Yeah.
Anybody know what kind of fish this is?
Stripy.
Stripy fish?
Cleaner fish.
It's a cleaner fish, yes, it is. It is. It's a cleaner wrasse.
is it something to do with reflections? Because that is the topic.
Yes.
So
well done, Joe, for paying attention.
Can it recognise itself in a mirror? Because babies can't.
Correct. It's one of the very few animals, in fact, it's the very first fish to pass what's called the mirror test to recognise its reflection of itself.
How do you test that?
Well, so what you do is you mark the animal in a place where it can only see the mark in a mirror. So, for example, the forehead would be a good place, and then see whether or not it observes it and whether or not it tries to scratch it to remove it.
We'll have a job, though, Sandy, won't it? Trying to scratch that off with no hands, what?
Except that cleaning off marks, Zoe, is what it does for a living.
For a living?
Yeah, they do actually have stations, and the clients, as it were, come to the station to be cleaned. They work for about 4 hours a day, and they clean about 2,000 clients. So it does seem like, when you're looking at them, as if it's a job, but that's what they do for a living. That's it inside the mouth of a Rankin cod. Look at that picture. I think it's so exciting.
There's got to be a lot of trust, hasn't there?
A lot of trust, except that all of the fish that are cleaned end up living longer and they tend to be smarter because they don't have the parasites. I mean, there is a sort of a caveat with this. It's possible that what the wrasse is actually doing is signalling to the other wrasse in the mirror, if you see what I mean, that it ought to clean itself. It actually doesn't see that it's itself. It's going to the other wrasse. You've got a little something. You've got a little something here, so it may not be aware that it's a mirror image of itself.
When do babies start to recognise?
About the age of 2.
Right.
I really think it'd be sooner than that. My daughter, she knew the way to the city farm when she was 1.5.
Was she trying to get away?
She was.
There's actually very few species that pass the test. Great apes mostly do, but not gorillas. And what I love is that animals do exactly what humans do when they discover a mirror for the very first time. First of all, an animal would look behind it to see if there's an animal behind it, and then they'll do funny movements, like we do in the fun fair, to see what it is. And then they will indulge in the same behaviour as an office worker left alone with a photocopier. Well, see parts of their body they've not been able to look at before. I know, yeah.
It's a miracle we don't have more mirrored seating, really, isn't it?
No, I don't think it is, really.
Some people like a mirrored chair.
That would...
You get some very odd selfies then. You would. That for a dick pic.
Could you get a mirrored internal bowl of a toilet? Because that would be like a funfair mirror for your undercarriage, wouldn't it? Because that would have a curve to
You
it.
could definitely have a mirrored urinal. I can't see why you couldn't have that.
Yeah.
Because
Sort of
honestly...
shooting at yourself.
What is wrong with men?
We've just got a sense of fun.
A sense of fun, darling. You've actually got an aiming device that doesn't seem to work.
Oh, no, mine does. Mine does, because there's in one pub in London that I went to, there's like a game, and it's got sensors in the urinal, and I got the top score on the thing, and it asks you to put your name in, but I didn't want to put my name in, so I put Adrian Chiles. There's a pub in central London where Adrian Chiles has got a real reputation.
Most animals either ignore their mirror image or they perceive it to be another animal. Sometimes they attack. This is really common in garden birds. Have you ever seen that, when a garden bird has a go at a window? There are reports of robins attacking as many as 15 windows in the same house, because if you close the curtains and try and stop the reflection, it will think that the enemy is simply hiding and go and look for another window. I mean... And another use of mirrors, which depends on animals not recognising their reflections, is flamingos. So, I don't know if you've ever seen this in the zoo. You sometimes see there's a mirror in the flamingo enclosure. That is because they will not breed until the colony has achieved a certain minimum size. And so they trick smaller groups into breeding by thinking, wow, there's loads of us, let's breed.
That's sort of the flamingo equivalent of a sort of mirrored ceiling in a brothel.
Yeah. It's a turn-on.
Yeah.
I'm loving this. I've never given mirrors much thought,
Have you
really.
not?
Well, not like this, no.
I know, it's
Oh, I'm
interesting,
loving
isn't it? Yeah, it's good. Recognising yourself in a mirror is a sign of exceptional intelligence, so well done to all our panel for getting through makeup tonight. Right, now, I'm going to make you write like Leonardo da Vinci. How do you think I am going to do that?
Did he
Teach us
Did
Italian.
he write reflectively?
He read what's called mirror writing. So we are going to see if we can do this without thinking about it. Underneath the table, you will feel a piece of paper, and you should have a pen. Take the pen.
Yeah.
And I want you to write your names on the piece of paper as it is under the desk. So write your first name on the piece of paper. This looks so weird. Of all you've got... OK, so, done. OK, let's take them out and have a look. Let's start with Zoe. Let's have a look at yours.
Oh, that's pretty good for me.
OK. OK, but what is the thing about it that's interesting is it's back to front.
Some of it is.
Well, it's...
But some of it isn't.
The O's not.
Yeah.
The O is exactly...
Well, how about you, Alan? Same for you? Oh, wow. Are you left-handed, Alan?
Nope.
That is...
I'm just a fucking genius.
What have you done? Oh, yes.
I've done mirror.
You've done mirror writing.
Yeah.
And what about you, Joe? Wow, the boys...
I am left-handed, though.
You are left-handed.
Does that affect it?
Yes, I think it does. The brain is wired slightly differently.
Better?
It's an unusual demand, so it confuses our brain, so it's not unusual to do it as mirror writing. It's common in children who are learning to write.
I've gone half and half, then. What does that... Because that one's back to front, but that one's the right way around.
You're right to be disappointed. That's shit.
It is a bit...
3 letters.
Which is...
One of them's the same either way.
So what's all this got to do with Leonardo da Vinci? Well, he wrote his personal notes in mirror writing, and nobody really knows why. Possibly for privacy. That is a possible thing. Maybe just to amuse himself. But he was left-handed. And my son is left-handed, and I asked him, and he said it's possible. He was just more comfortable. When the pen goes away from the body, as it does for a right-handed person when you're writing, it just feels better.
Well, no, also, I found when I was at school, particularly when you're using a fountain pen, that you smudge it as you go over it.
Yeah.
So that's... He was smart, wasn't he, Leonardo?
Yeah, well,
I think we haven't given him enough credit.
But we have a generally poor memory for the configuration of objects. So we're going to do a couple of quick tests to demonstrate. So, the audience, let's start with you. You've all seen the Statue of Liberty, I am sure. You've seen a picture of it 1,000 times. I want you to vote whether the statue holds the torch in the right or the left hand.
Oh, God.
So hands up for right. And hands up for left. Well, I think left pretty much had the edge there, and the answer is it's in the right hand. OK, let's try the panel. So we see fonts all the time now, that's the thing. Which of the 4 lowercase g's written on the screen is correct?
Number 1.
3.
1, 3, any more?
1 and
4?
2. 1 and 2.
2. Well, let's have the audience vote for number 1. Hardly anybody. Number 2. Quite a lot. Number 3. Even more. Number 4.
Oh, 2.
Well, so none of us can really remember. The answer is number 2. Number 2 is the correct one, yeah. But these are things we see all the time, and we have an inability to correctly recall the configuration of things. Where do we routinely see mirror writing? We see it almost every day if you're driving.
Ambulances.
Yeah, fire engines and ambulances. It's written so that you can read it in the rearview mirror. Can I just show you this? I love this. In 2015, the city of Nanjing, they actually made fire engines that were, if you like, mirror images of themselves. Don't you love these? They're like push-me-pull-yous. Yeah. So they have tunnels, they have very crowded, narrow streets and so on. They didn't have the space to turn around, so they just made it you could drive it from both ends.
That's genius.
I think it's fantastic. I want that as a car.
Yeah.
They also have really tiny little ones. And again, it's for very, very small streets. Just one fireman turns up. Tiny little fire engine.
Water pist.
I know, yeah. I got this, yeah.
With 3 blokes who want to wee.
Yeah.
Adrian Chiles is coming in.
What's the difference between a one-way mirror and a two-way mirror?
Oh.
So a two-way mirror, I would think, is the one that in the cop shows.
Yes.
That you're looking through at the suspect being interviewed and remaining anonymous.
And they can't see you?
Yeah.
So are you saying it's a different kind of mirror?
Well, now I'm thinking that's actually got to be one way, hasn't it? So you're seeing, but they can't see in.
Yeah. So is that different to...
I want to go
Is it just a pain...
This is amazing. I've just not ever thought of
about
this.
mirrors at all.
Is a two-way mirror just a window?
I think it probably is. It's a window with the light out.
Yeah, that's it.
They all sit in the dark, don't they? Mulder and Scully and all them. They sit in the dark.
Yeah. That does matter, that they're sitting in the
And the other light is very, very, very brightly lit.
Right,
while
so
they're
what
in
does
there
that tell us?
Sweating. Do you want a cigarette? Well, you can't have one.
Yeah.
That's a one-way mirror.
Yeah. The effect depends on what they call a half-silvered surface, so it reflects about half the light and it's penetrated by the rest. So it penetrates at an equal rate on both sides, this mirror. It's not does it only works one way. You know, if you stand in a lit room, OK, and it is dark outside and there's somebody outside, you can't see them, but they can see you perfectly well. And it is the same effect, so that one-way and two-way mirrors are exactly the same thing. There is nothing really special about one side of the mirror over the other. If one side is brightly lit and the other side is left in darkness, all the light that reflects off the mirror on the bright side will swamp the much smaller amount of light that's passing through from the dark side. So ways in which you could tell, actually, that you're being observed by a mirror. First of all, it'll be set into the wall rather than hanging on it. If you rap on it with your knuckles, you can hear that it's hollow. If you actually went up and pressed your eyes like that up to the mirror, you'll block out the light from the room that you are in. If it's a reciprocal mirror, you should at least be able to see something through. And I think at last resort, just chuck a chair through it. That'd be... Anybody know about the trick called Pepper's Ghost?
Pepper's Ghost.
It's one of my favourite things.
So two mirrors at an angle or something like that.
It is to do with an angled mirror. It's a wonderful trick. It was made famous by a British chemist who was known as John Pepper, and it was a way to make a ghost appear on the stage. I think we can show you with a diagram. There is an invisible piece of glass. Can you see the glass is this angled thing up on the stage? The glass is angled at 45 degrees to point down into the orchestra pit, and then we've got the actual actor. Can you see standing there with a light shining? It is reflected in the glass and up onto the invisible glass there, and he will appear as a hologram. It'll appear as a three-dimensional ghostly figure standing on the stage. I mean, it is an astonishing trick, and it's been used by politicians, people like Narendra Modi, the French presidential hopeful Jean-Luc Mélenchon. This is him on stage, except it isn't him. It is a hologram. Almost every hologram you'll ever see is a version of Pepper's Ghost, and I love that the Victorians knew how to do this, and we sort of don't use it very much. Right, who has the biggest ears in Britain?
GCHQ.
Alexa.
I'll go with that.
It's size-wise we're talking about.
I think this
This
guy's
bloke
probably
is-
up there.
Yeah.
He's up there, yeah.
Has that been photoshopped or is that a real ear?
No, darling, it's pretend. What do we think we are talking about? So you're not far off in terms of the protection, security of the country.
Not one of those listening devices built before the invention of radar.
It is. You are exactly right and get an additional point. That is what it is.
You started, but you finished.
I should have half of that point.
It's the
really.
concrete ears or acoustic mirrors. Yeah,
Oh,
because
yeah.
You'll see 3 of them at Dungeness, aren't they? Amazing. So it's the precursor to radar. These are these huge concrete dishes. They were along the south coast and elsewhere at the beginning of World War II to detect approaching aircraft. And if you look at the middle, they had a microphone suspended in the focal point, and they had a range of up to 27 miles. They could hear planes coming. So here's the problem with it. If a plane comes from behind... You know what I'm saying?
The thing is, Germany's not behind, is it? It's
No,
over there.
but they might have thought, I've got those ears, I'm going to circle round and come in. Or
It's the
if
same principle as an owl's head.
Is this you
Yes.
being an owl? Are you being an owl?
Be an owl for you
Okay,
now.
yeah.
Be an owl for you
That's, yeah.
now. Yeah. They
amazing.
fly with their heads pointing down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the sound of little things trying to avoid being eaten at night, rustling about.
That's me.
It's amplified within the concave face. So they can hear animals underground, 4 feet underground.
It is
and
astonishing.
hover about waiting for them to come out.
Yeah.
They must fly into a lot of lampposts.
You can see the lamppost.
Yeah.
It's the tree.
I thought that was because the animals that they were chasing,
Yeah.
the urine has got a different sort of phosphorescence at
That's
Oh,
times.
no,
true.
that's hawks.
But the amazing thing about these, the harder the material, the more that the sound will bounce off it. So concrete is absolutely ideal. But then radar came in that superseded it, faster planes and so on. I love the whole story of British radar being discovered. It's a byproduct of something unsuccessful. So they wanted to develop a death ray, obviously.
Yeah.
Mid-1930s, the British government, they wanted to stay ahead of the Nazis in the arms race. So they offered a £1,000 prize to anybody who could zap a sheep at 100 paces. And they gave this a go, and there was a man called Robert Watson Watt of the... There he is. Doesn't he look like... hello, I'm from the 1930s. Of the radio research station, they asked him if he could work on this, and he realised it was impossible. It would require far too much power, but he suggested some alternative research. He looked into using radio waves to detect far-off planes long before they could be seen, basically by sending out radio signals and then timing how long it took for it to echo back. And that became the radar system, which was obviously so hugely important in the war. Now, which is better, symmetrical knees or symmetrical nostrils?
Ooh.
I know. Who would have thought there was a choice?
Which is better?
Yeah, which is better?
I'd say knees.
Why would you say knees?
To have your face exactly the same on both sides
Is
would
weird.
actually be really odd, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
No, I thought the height of beauty was having a symmetrical face.
OK, let's have a look at ourselves with symmetrical faces.
Oh, God.
Here we are. This is the left side of your faces replicated.
It's had more impact on your head, isn't it?
Good God.
I look terrified. I look like a chipmunk. So that's our left sides. Let's have a look at our right sides and see if we think that's any better.
Oh! Christ, you're straight out of Star Trek.
I come in peace.
That is the weirdest thing. Alan, you don't look like yourself at all.
Oh, look at Alan. I feel really sad for him there. I don't know why.
They say that part of the attraction of a person is the symmetry of their face, but I'm not sure.
No.
I'm not sure that is entirely true. Let's go back to knees and nostrils. So the answer is it depends what you want to do. So knees for a sprinter and nostrils for a distance runner. There's a man called Robert Trivers and lots of his colleagues, and they looked into Jamaican athletes in particular, and they found that symmetrical knees and ankles characterise sprinters and symmetrical nostrils do the same for distance runners. Why might that be?
Well, a sprinter, you are up and down and forward, aren't you?
Yeah.
It's an efficiency of
How
movement.
are you sprinting?
Like that. Like that.
Like a train.
This is why I didn't make Team GB.
But you are a runner.
Yeah, I am a runner, but a plodder.
Symmetry is inherently efficient, so that's very useful for sprinting, and breathing much more important the longer distance that you run, so you're going to need better nostrils. Symmetry of feet, apparently, doesn't seem to matter to runners at all. Longer distance runners tend to have relatively asymmetric feet, actually. I couldn't work out whether that's because they go around on the track all the time. But in all of the groups, the left foot tends to be larger than the right in runners.
Wow.
My left foot's bigger than my right.
Is it? Considerably?
About half a size.
Good to know.
Weirdly, it's all on the back of the foot. The front of the foot's the same.
What, your heel? You've got a big bulging heel. Is that what you're saying?
It goes back about 6
I've never noticed that.
I've got the effect of a kind of a rocking chair. If I wait at a bus stop, I can be quite alarming on one foot.
Anyway, you might think that symmetrical knees are caused by sprinting, but in fact, it can be used as a predictive measure. If you look at the relevant symmetry of a child at the age of 8, you can predict whether or not they're going to be a good sprinter. So it's not the training programme that has changed their physiology, it's the fact that they already had symmetrical knees that's made them good at sprinting. Back in the day, what was the problem with watching snooker in the mirror?
It was in black and white.
Well, that is in a way correct.
You know, in football, they used to have a rule that if it was an international game, you couldn't have teams, even if they were in red and blue shirts, one of them had to change because in many of the developing countries they hadn't yet got colour television and they wanted to expand football around the world, and if you're watching in black and white, you couldn't tell the difference between one team and another.
So television sets in the early days were monochrome, and so were the earliest mirrors. The reflections that they gave were effectively monochrome.
What?
Yes, because strong, bright colours were sort of dimly distinguishable, but subtle colour distinctions were really difficult, so a game of snooker watched in an early mirror would have been practically impossible.
Sorry, the mirror...
Whoa there!
The mirror made things black and white.
So the earliest mirrors are made of volcanic glass. It's something called obsidian. Have a look in this, Stelling, and you will see. So you have to imagine this is before the invention of being able to put silver on glass.
Before the invention of snooker, surely.
I'm trying to explain that the way snooker was viewed on television...
On obsidian.
...would have been a bit like looking in an early mirror.
OK.
So here you are. This is a piece of volcanic glass. It's naturally occurring, and that's a piece of obsidian glass up there. And you can see some bright colours, you can see some shapes dimly, but you are not able to distinguish subtlety of colour in any way.
That's the sort of mirror I want in my house. That's what you look at before you go out and go, I look cracking. I look like a shadow.
Yeah. So this is the sort of early stuff, and it's made when...
lovely, isn't it?
It's beautiful, isn't it? John Dee, who was the astrologer to Elizabeth I, and his assistant, Edward Keeley, used to use one for scrying. This, in fact, is his piece of glass that he used for scrying. Does anybody know what scrying is?
When you look at it and you're telling the future, so you'd scry with a crystal ball
Exactly
or you'd
right.
scry with a goblet with some water in it.
It's a
or
form of,
something like that.
divination. They called it a showstone. And today you can do it in the glass of a smartphone. There was a fashion for viewing landscapes in something called a Claude glass in the late 18th century. So this is a rather beautiful thing. And the idea was that views, when you looked in it, seemed softer with the colours less pronounced. And the idea was to try and recreate a style of painting by artists like Claude Lorraine. That's why it's called a Claude glass. And it reduces and simplifies colour. So rather than look at views directly, people used to use them. They'd turn their back on the view and they would admire it through the mirror, and it would look more... So it's like this slightly mistier kind of quality. Members of the audience might try this. If you can face away, and if you have a smartphone, look in the screen of the smartphone.
And tell us the football score.
It would be the same effect as looking in a Claude glass. And what you get is you get a sort of a subtler image. You don't get all the bright colours.
I just took a selfie of all of you taking a century. You all look ridiculous.
Did it work? So it is an extraordinary thing.
I think it's just the prototype for the contact lens.
So here's a picture of a church, just normal, and then we look at it through the Claude glass, and the idea is that it just gives you a sort of a softer, gentler thing.
What a noise from the audience.
I know, isn't it?
Why can I see Joe in it there?
Is there something else that is reflected of?
Oh, no, it's Zoe.
Oh, it's
You
Zoe.
will have...
That's what I mean, softer and gentler. Yeah. The process for actually silvering mirrors the way that we know them today was not invented until 1835. So before then, if you put hot metal on glass, it just basically broke. And that means that most people before mid-19th century had very little idea what they looked like.
What a relief.
Yeah. I know. I mean, that famous picture of Narcissus looking in the water, it's very rare that you get that fantastically detailed picture of yourself.
Where did she get that outfit from? Is that a Zara number?
Yeah.
Half a Zara number.
That is Echo looking at...
He's going, I've got my boob out, look at me.
He's not looking at yourself.
No, don't want to.
Here's a very...
It's right out, it's fully out.
Right. How do these scientists know how far away the moon is?
We measure how long it takes the light to get to us using a mirror thing.
Yes, but where's the mirror?
They put a mirror on the moon.
5. They put 5 mirrors
they?
on the moon. Yep. 3 American, 2 Russian were left behind by the various... There's one. Various manned Apollo missions, the unmanned Soviet missions. The very first one, Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin, the first men on the moon,
That
planted
just
it.
looks like a bit of fly tipping, doesn't it? On our way and get rid of fridge. Yeah.
Leave that there, that'll be gone in the morning.
Yeah. There'll be a mattress further on.
Looks like somebody's left a Ziploc bag, doesn't it?
If Armstrong's wife was anything like my wife is, he probably had to keep his passport in that when he went to the moon.
Why'd you keep it in a bag?
You know, like, one of you in the relationships always keep documents in a foldy thing, don't they?
Yeah.
And whenever we go on holidays, my wife has about 3 or 4 foldy things. A going foldy thing, a being there foldy thing, and a coming back foldy thing. And what he's done is he's got rid of his going there foldy thing.
I tell you what there are. There are lots of bags of poo on the moon.
Oh.
Are there? Yes. Hung up in trees.
Yeah.
When you say lots of, what are we talking?
One a day from takeoff, and let's be honest, takeoff might necessitate at least 4.
Yeah, it's a big bag.
I think I'd struggle to get it into a bag.
There are 96 bags of human waste. These retroreflectors, astronomers used them for 40 years to precisely measure the distance between here and the moon. So what they did was they fired laser beams from equipment in Texas, and they timed how long it took to get there and bounce back again. And what they worked out is that the moon is moving away from us by about 3.8 centimetres per year.
It'll be back.
It's like the children, isn't
Yeah,
it?
when it sees what it's like out there, it'll...
It'll be back.
More alarming if it was coming towards us 3.8 centimetres.
Yeah, that would be
Eventually,
scary.
they'd be there, wouldn't it?
But the accuracy that you need from Texas to hit this mirror with a laser, it's comparable to using a rifle to hit a moving penny 2 miles away. It's the equivalent of measuring the distance between New York and Los Angeles to the nearest 0.25 millimetres. Now, for the part of the show which reflects poorly on everybody, general ignorance, fingers on buzzers, please. What's the best way to pull the pin out of a grenade?
Joe.
Joe.
I know they're going to go, woo, but I would love, if I ever throw a grenade,
Yeah.
which I'm hoping I won't have to, but
Yeah.
if I do, I'd love to go out with my teeth and throw it.
OK, so the classic design is that you hold the lever like that, you pull the pin out, and that is going to release the lever, and then you chuck it, it springs open, it triggers a time fuse, and boom. If you pull it out with your teeth, which they do in the movies, don't they?
Yeah.
Because they're busy firing a gun with the other hand.
They're busy.
Yeah.
God, I'm so busy firing this gun.
I know. You'd be terrible in the army, wouldn't you? No, not now, I'm busy.
Such a lot on.
I know.
Bang, bang,
Bang, bang. Oh, loud.
bang.
The pin is bent so that you can't pull it out accidentally. So it isn't straight. The amount of force that you would need, which is between...
Hang on, will you?
Yeah. It's between 3 and 5 kilograms, at least, the amount of force could very well break your teeth. Yeah. So it is a complete misconception
Yeah.
that you could at any time do this.
Adrian Childs.
If a grenade is thrown at you, what should you do? Should you try and throw it back?
Yeah,
Why?
because it'll blow up over there.
There isn't time. I'd run if I was you. You've got 3 to 5 seconds.
3 to 5 seconds from lobbing it? Or...
From the moment the person has thrown it.
As I said, I'm not much of a sprinter, more of a plodder, so you just wonder...
Yeah, from the moment the person has thrown it, you've got... Don't throw it back, that's the thing.
Don't throw it back.
That's rude.
Back. Leave it.
Leave it.
Leave it. Walk away.
Yeah. That's your last
Quickly.
thought.
Yeah.
Sandy said, don't throw it back.
I haven't got time for this, I'm busy, actually.
What happens when you have a bump on your head and you wake up with foreign language syndrome?
Okay.
You don't speak in a foreign language, you speak in a foreign accent.
Clever.
Is correct. That's
Clever.
exactly right. You could just feel the trap door opening and closing.
Because if you could speak another language, and all I'd have done at school is just bash my head off the desk and go,
Yeah.
oh!
Yeah.
Bonjour.
No.
Ça va? Oui, ça va bien, merci. No, it's just you to speak in the accent.
Why do you do that face?
I don't know.
I'm imagining smoking a Gauloise cigarette as well.
That's very odd.
Ça va bien. Merci beaucoup.
It's so weird how you turn into a cartoon. You're absolutely right. They simply have an impairment, a speech impairment. And the notion that they speak a foreign language, it's in the ear of the listener rather than in the mouth of the speaker. Sufferers have included George Michael. I don't know if you remember this. In 2012, he had pneumonia and he was briefly in a coma and he woke up with what sounded
You've got to
like...
have a faith. You've got to rock your body.
Oh, he had a West Country.
Oh.
He had a West
You've
Country.
got to have faith.
A faith, you've got a faith, eh?
Oh, he had a careless whisper, he did.
This is a terrible story. There was a Norwegian woman called Astrid L, and she was hit in the head by shrapnel during World War II in an air raid, and it left her with a German accent. But it was a speech impairment, and it resulted in her being ostracised by other Norwegians because they thought that she had somehow been associating with the Germans.
I heard someone on This Morning went on. They'd had some organ transplant, and when they woke up, they were really into vacuuming.
Well, so this is not as weird as it sounds. The answer may be that some memory exists in cells where we didn't know they resided before.
Wow.
That you would pass on vacuuming is really annoying. There are exceptional stories of people having a head trauma and somehow acquiring some kind of skill, and that is weird. Derek Amate was a man who hit his head in a swimming pool. He was aged 40, and after that, he was a brilliant pianist, despite having never played before.
That's quite good luck, isn't it?
Isn't it?
Yeah, you
I
have to
know.
hit it right on the right
Exactly
spot.
the right place. So he can't read music or imitate tunes, but the music he improvises is completely extraordinary, and nobody knows why. That is weird.
That is
one of
weird,
those
yeah.
things about the brain. It's just...
Better than vacuuming.
That's this morning.
That is the booking policy of this morning.
Yeah, absolutely. Anything over vacuuming,
Yeah,
we're
yeah.
not interested. In the Chopin, no.
Yeah.
Nein, danke.
Phil and Holly aren't going to talk about Chopin.
No, why would they?
If someone starts speaking French after a knock on the head, it probably means they're French. Lastly, a question about reflexes. What happens if you dream that you are sneezing?
Lisa.
Yes, Lisa.
You wake up sneezing. I was distracted by that picture.
You wake up as a dog, isn't
Yeah.
it?
It's impossible to sneeze at the same time as dreaming. So during REM sleep, which is the time when you dream, your muscles, including all your reflex muscles, are completely paralysed. It's quite unlikely, in fact, that you'll sneeze even in non-REM phases, because the nerve cells in the brain which trigger a sneeze are normally suppressed. If you did sneeze while you were asleep, it would wake you up.
I used to suffer from sleep paralysis, where your body is paralysed, but you're awake, but you can't actually move.
How long did that... How long...
It
could
could last for...
1982 to
Yeah.
1985.
The Victorians used to depict it with an evil spirit coming into the room to take away your soul, because often when it happens to you, you see a dark shadow moving through the room. It's a really horrible thing. It's like being trapped in sleep, but you are awake. And then we moved flat and it never happened again. It was really weird.
But the new owners...
Yeah. Weird.
Is it like a part of, like, night terrors? Because
Similar.
My friend got all sorts of visions. He had horrible night terrors. My favourite... He got one of those apps on his phone so he could record what noises he made in the night. And he had night terror that the room was full of bees. And he listened to the recording the next morning, and it's just him going, "Fuck all bees!"
What about sneezing underwater? Possible? Can you sneeze underwater?
You can when you've done it.
Scuba diving.
Yeah,
you have
unattractive.
Yeah, it's not
Blinds
attractive.
you, yeah.
you get all the snot in your face mask. It's not pleasant. I've once vomited while diving. Yeah, it wasn't pleasant.
Well, I discovered last year what it is to be hit by food poisoning at 18 metres underwater.
Wow.
Yeah.
Is it both ends?
No, it wasn't.
That's
it was
good.
very, very dramatically from one end. Yeah. But I managed to get back to shore, but just not out of my wetsuit.
So, I am going to imagine you went back and had a bath.
Yeah, I had to burn the island we were on.
If you were in the bath and you fell asleep, could you drown?
Oh, I worry about this. I have a lot of baths. I'm hoping the answer's no, but...
Your reflexes would wake you up. In fact, they do experiments into sleep deprivation, and they use cats, and the technique is they put them on a small support floating in water, and if they fall asleep, they fall into the water, and then they immediately wake up.
Are all these the same people as are putting mirrors on the moon
Yeah.
and then discovering...
Yeah.
I
It's
mean, you'd
two
think they've
blokes.
got something good and sensible, like sorting out traffic lights or
Yeah.
something.
That brings us to the grim matter of the scores, which naturally are in reverse order. In last place, he should take a long, hard look at himself. With minus 13, it's Alan. In third place with minus 7, it's Lisa.
Thank you very much.
In second place with minus 3, it's Joe.
Oh, so close, so close.
In first place, it's an absolute miracle. I mean, it's astonishing. With 8 points, 8 actual points, it's Zoe. It's thanks to Lisa and Joe, Zoe and Alan, and I leave you with this from US comedian Rodney Dangerfield. I went to see my doctor. Doctor, every morning when I get up and look in the mirror, I feel like throwing up. What's wrong with me? he said. I don't know, said the doctor, but your eyesight is perfect. Thank you and good night.